Have you ever reached the end of the day and then thought, shoot, I still have that homework? Between work, family, classes, and everything else, it can feel like there's no space left for studying. There's a trap a lot of our students fall into, waiting for this big block of free time that never really comes. But you don't need huge chunks of time to make progress. You just need to spot the hidden minutes in your day and turn them into mini study sessions. Today, we're going to talk about how to do exactly that. I'll share some creative ways to squeeze in reading, memorizing, and even writing without adding extra hours to your schedule. Welcome to Study With Me. I'm Loy from GCC's online learning team, and this is episode 4, Hidden Study Time. If you find these sessions helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what's coming up next. We'll have plenty of practical tips all semester long. Before we get going, I want to let you know that tonight's episode, unlike most live sessions, is pre-recorded. So we will not have a student-only after party following the session. If you do want to contact us, if you have questions, comments, concerns, or just to let us know you're listening, we're happy to hear from you. Our email is gcconline@genesee.edu, or you can jump into Brightspace in the Success course for GCC students, where there are 3 discussion boards called a community hub. We set those up specifically so we can hear from students like you. Feel free to let us know how things are going. All right, let's jump in. Segment 1 is called Reading on the Go. Picture yourself reading your textbook or watching your recorded class videos. What do you see? Are you at a desk, in bed or on the couch with your laptop, at a table? That tends to be our thought process, but it doesn't have to be that way. You don't always have to be sitting down and staring at a screen to get through your course materials. Let's start with your textbook. Many of the tools you already use can read content out loud for you. Brightspace will read pages of content one at a time. And most of the major publishers, Pearson, Cengage, Norton, McGraw-Hill, etc., they build that same feature into their e-textbooks. Even PowerPoints can be read out loud with Microsoft's built-in narration tool. And your recorded class lectures, you can replay them almost anywhere on your phone. The trick is to pair that audio with something routine, something that doesn't take a lot of brain power. You don't want to be multitasking. Multitasking lowers your ability to learn. It inhibits the process. So think about things like walking the dog, folding the laundry, doing the dishes, working out. Things your body can do on autopilot while your mind focuses on listening and learning. Even driving your car becomes study time if you trade your usual radio station for a lecture or a textbook recording. So try something a little different this week. What are some activities that you might pair up with listening to your textbook or lecture or even this podcast? Pause and take a minute to jot down your own list. Think about the routines you already have in your week and where listening could slide in or layer on top. Now, those minutes may not feel like study sessions, but they add up quickly. You can use that time to listen for a first run-through or to review material right before a big test. If you're not sure how to get started, you'll find step-by-step instructions for some of the most common screen readers in Brightspace under the Accessibility module. Now, it is important to note that this doesn't replace sitting down with your textbook when you need to read closely or highlight or take notes. So if you're listening along to a textbook and you find yourself getting confused, stop. Find some time to sit down with pen and paper and read or listen carefully. But you can think of these sessions as a partner to traditional reading. Listening helps you get the big picture and remember the flow and connectedness of ideas, while reading on the page lets you slow down and really dig into details. Either way, you're reclaiming hidden study time, making progress without having to carve out a giant block of study time. Segment 2 is called Memorization in Minutes. Now, when most students say they're studying, what they usually mean is they're rereading their textbook, or they're flipping through and rereading their notes. That might feel productive, but it's actually the least effective way to study. It's easy, it's comfortable, and that means your brain isn't really working very hard. There's a great book called Make It Stick: The Science of Successful Learning by Peter Brown, Henry Roedinger, and Mark McDaniel. And they explain why the harder way of studying, something called active recall, is so much more powerful and effective. Active recall is when you force your brain to pull that information back out instead of just looking at it again. One of my favorite examples from this book is about fire extinguishers. Now, most of us walk past them every single day. But if I asked you right now, wherever you're sitting, where is the nearest fire extinguisher? Could you tell me? The authors surveyed professors at a California college to see if they could locate the nearest fire extinguisher on campus. Most professors could not, even when that extinguisher was right outside their office door. You know what they could locate? Drinking fountains. Why? Well, because at one point or another they actively sought out a drinking fountain. They might see that fire extinguisher dozens of times, but if they've never practiced recalling that information, it probably didn't stick. Studying works the same way. Just re-seeing the material over and over and over again doesn't mean you'll be able to use it when you need it. And here's another layer of that learning science. Mix it up. That's called interleaving, and it's part of the same learning science from our Make It Stick book. Instead of spending a whole hour drilling one subject, say, vocab words, well, you shuffle your vocab words with a little math, or writing an outline, or maybe some flashcards. That might feel harder, that might feel a little intimidating, but that struggle is good struggle. It's good for your brain. It forces you to sort, recall, and shift gears. It helps you make connections, which makes the learning stronger. So, how do we practice active recall in our everyday lives? Preferably in some way that's less intimidating. Well, this is where hidden study time really takes off, because you don't need an hour. You just need a little pocket of time and a few creative tricks. The classic active recall is flashcards. Flashcards make your brain come up with that answer. And modern apps and online tools like Quizlet or Anki make it easy to keep your flashcards right on your phone. Are you waiting in line for coffee? Okay, pull up a flashcard. Are you stuck in a traffic jam? Quiz yourself out loud. How long does your dinner take to cook in the microwave? Let's say you're doing a microwave meal. 5.5 minutes? How many flashcards can you get through before the microwave goes off? Make it a challenge. And then there's TV. Maybe you're watching live TV. Maybe you're watching a streaming service that has ads. Every 30-second commercial? Well, I'm not going to pay attention to the commercial anyway. I might as well do a few flashcards on my phone. I'd love to hear your creative ideas. If you've got some quirky ways that you can quiz yourself or memorize something, that'd be fun. I've heard about students turning active recall into a game where they try and answer as many quiz questions as they can going up a flight of stairs, or trying to get as many flashcards as they can while brushing their teeth. I mean, okay, some of these are a little goofy, but you know what? Who cares? If it helps you remember, it's getting the job done. And then there's the whole learning science around music. So let's talk about something called study karaoke. You take your vocab list or your key concepts and you set them to the rhythm of your favorite song. You'd be surprised how easily those concepts come back if you've sung them a couple of times. Or maybe you wouldn't be surprised. Think of how many song lyrics you can recall right off the bat now because they're set to music. So, go ahead, release that inner rap star. In the privacy of your own home or car, you can be anyone you want to be. No one has to hear it but you. Now, these quick hits, they don't necessarily replace your longer study sessions, but they do make memory practice a part of your day. And active recall and interleaving tell us that's what works best. Short, repeated bursts every day are much better than one big cram session the night before the test. Segment 3 is called Writing in the Margins. Writing seems to be the most difficult task to break up and complete in pieces. And I think that's because most of us picture long, focused sessions at a desk. You know, you're staring at a blank screen, then you're staring at the keyboard, then you're staring at the ceiling until words finally come out and show up on the page. And yes, sometimes you do need bigger chunks of time for writing. But a surprising amount of writing can fit in small amounts throughout your day. And part of the problem here is that most students don't break down writing into smaller tasks. So, here's what that could look like. Step 1, brainstorming ideas. Step 2, making an outline. Step 3 through 10, adding one paragraph or one outline section at a time. Steps 11 through 17, I think it would be, editing each section. Step 18, doing a final proofread. Okay, lots of steps. But each of those steps can be done in short bursts. And when you spread them out like that, the whole process feels a lot less overwhelming. It's less intimidating, and you're more likely to actually get it started. So what does your writing process look like? Do you usually treat it as one big task, or did you break it up into smaller pieces? Let me share a few ways that I sneak writing into the odd corners of my day. So, one of my favorite go-tos is voice to text. I'll go for a walk. I'll open the Notes app on my phone and I'll just talk through my ideas, my thought process. Well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll do the other thing. Yeah, I talked through this podcast before we started. Later on, I'll copy that text into a Word doc and I'll clean it up. It's very messy at first. Really messy. I would never want anyone to see that first draft, but that's okay. It's a start. It's a foundation. It's something I can work with. And as a famous novelist once said, you can't edit a blank page. So then I move into outlining. Instead of staring at the whole paper as one big task, Outlining helps me break it down into smaller sections, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So my go-to is to write one idea per sticky note and shuffle them around until the order makes sense. My bedroom wall, is one of my favorite writing surfaces. I can put up those sticky notes and see all my thoughts at the same time, which helps me find an organization. Organize it as a persuasive paper, or maybe as a research project, or maybe it's just a lab report. But now I've got an organization, and that gives me a step-by-step guide to finishing the paper. If I just fill in each outline section one at a time, I can get there. And editing can work the same way. I don't need a full evening to revise. I just need a Pomodoro here and there. Do you remember Pomodoros from episode 2? When we were talking about our weekly study strategies? Pomodoro is just 25 minutes of uninterrupted time where you work on a piece of coursework. We can do anything for 25 minutes. So in 25 minutes, I focus on one segment at a time, not the whole paper. And to make it easier for me to do that in small segments, I'll leave myself a giant note in the draft. When I'm done with my Pomodoro, I write the word HERE, H-E-R-E, in all caps, big letters. Sometimes I'll make it purple or pink. And then when I come back, tomorrow or a couple of days from now, I can find my spot instantly and pick up right where I left off. I can do all these things in the break between the rest of my life. And then there's proofreading. Now, for me, I usually hand my papers to my husband. If he can make sense of what I've written, then I've done a good job. It's a simple test. If my reader stumbles, the problem isn't with them, it's with my writing. Now, I know not everyone has a built-in proofreader living at home, so the key is to find your own person, a friend, a family member, a classmate, a coworker, someone who's proud of you for being a college student. They don't have to be in your class or in your field of study. In fact, it's better if they're not, because if they can still follow your point, chances are you've done an excellent job of writing it. So these little moves take the pressure off. You're not starting from scratch each time. You're building on work you've already done in the margins of your day. And that's the secret to writing in small chunks. You don't have to power through the whole thing. Break it down and say, okay, tonight I'm going to get my outline done. Tonight I'm going to get the first 3 paragraphs done. And each little burst moves you forward. And if and when you can finally sit down for that longer stretch, you'll already have momentum on your side. That brings us to the end of episode 4, Hidden Study Time. So we looked at different ways to make the most of those little moments in your day. Reading on the go, turning study time turning walking the dog or folding laundry into study time. And then we talked about memorization in minutes, using active recall and interleaving to keep ideas fresh in our head. Maybe even a little study karaoke if you're bold enough. And finally, we looked at writing in the margins, breaking big papers down into smaller pieces so you can outline, draft, edit, and proofread without waiting for that giant block of time to magically appear in your schedule. So your challenge this week is to pick just one of these strategies and give it a go. Maybe you test drive an audio reader, or pick up a flashcard app, or maybe you mark a big HERE in your paper so you can jump back in without hesitation the next time around. Whatever you choose, the goal is the same, to make study time fit your life, not the other way around. And remember, You don't have to do it alone. GCC resources that can support you in this include your learning specialists, your success coaches, and the tutors in the Learning Center. Make a Learning Center appointment with a tutor and ask for a session on academic study skills for someone who can help you find ways to carve study time out of your busy day. You'll also find some resources in the Success course for GCC students, including guides and worksheets to help you stay on track. And in the discussion boards there, I'll post links to the specific tools that I spoke about tonight: Quizlet, Anki, and the lovely book Make It Stick: The Science of Successful Learning, in case you'd like to read more. If you're a GCC student, normally we would have a Zoom after party. I'm going to remind you again that this episode is pre-recorded, so there is not a Zoom after party. But jump into those same discussion boards in the Success course for GCC students and let us know how we're doing. We'll answer your questions there one-on-one. I'm Loy from the Online Learning Team. Thanks for listening to Study With Me. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. I hear we have one of our most fun librarians coming. And until then, keep taking those small steps forward. Remember, we're looking for progress, not perfection.